Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to the reserve program. We have survived 100% races at Australia, and now we head to the streets of Singapore to the original night race in Formula One. It is going to be a 35% race here tonight, so 22 laps, one singular qualifying session to rule them all here in our reserve program night. So it'll be a good chance for some new faces to kind of prove themselves ahead of the upcoming silly season, and also a good chance for some full-time drivers to go ahead and get some practice in before the big races up ahead. My name is Patrick Coleman, aka Ruckus, and I'll be one of your hosts and commentators tonight. Alongside me is the main man, Muzz. How you doing tonight, mate?
I'm doing I'm doing fantastic. Let's just say I'm excited to get the all those 100% races out of the way and onto the rest of the season.
Yeah, indeed, yeah, we go from pretty much the home track of Rush to what I refer to as El Clasico, as this is a track that Rush tends to do extremely well. It's one of the tracks that Rush does better than even the real life Formula One. So it's gonna be a fun one here tonight. The walls are tight. This track will bite you for making a mistake. And usually rain is a threat. Not the case tonight. We have seen the weather forecast. The very advanced Rush Racing meteorologist sent us his data this time around, and it is expected to be a bone dry race from here till about the entirety of the race. So, any predictions on what we might see happen here tonight, Muzz?
Yeah, well, I think that the in terms of the quality of the racing, it will probably be on the lower side, just because it is all of the tiers are reserved. So you'll have guys on tier one pace and then guys on tier five pace. So it will be a little bit more spread out, but it will give a lot of drivers opportunities to be racing side by side with other divisions and other tiers. So it'll be a good opportunity for people to promote themselves and make themselves known, and for new people to come in and show everyone what they've got.
Exactly. So, and that's one of the reasons I love the reserve program because you do get this kind of mixed bag. It's kind of like trail mix. You get a bunch of different things packed together, but it all combines to make a very spectacular package. And so, we do have two new faces, or at least two names I am unfamiliar with. I'm on board with one of them at the moment, Priza. And then we also have Izzy Fizzy in the Haas. So at least two new names here tonight. Jumping in, doing some races. You love to see it. You love to see how these guys go. As we now make our way through, as drivers are just trying to get warmed up and ready to go. Sorokin is going to go ahead and get us started with our first lap here of the night. So he's going to go and make his way through. And this track is very, very tricky. So you gotta be kind of patient with it just about, or else it will absolutely just end your night. You gotta be patient with this track, because this track has no patience for you. And we're seeing as Sorokin makes his way through the streets of Marina Bay. Gonna go, almost too deep there. It's a lot of tough braking zones on this course as well, so as he is just about to approach the Singapore Sling, Sorokin is just doing what he can. He's not using a ton of battery here, but there's not a lot of places to really burn up that battery, so I think he's really just trying to build up for a second run here. As he's going to go through, almost touching the wall there, getting really, really close there. Activating the DRS. And actually, this track does have a similar syndrome to Australia, where you can get two DRS zones for the price of one. If you get the DRS trigger for one zone, you'll pretty much almost immediately get it for the next one shortly after. He's going to go hard on the brakes, under the highway, and now he's going to go ahead and to go through. This is a shockingly tricky corner, because you can really invalidate your lap if you take this corner wrong. Across the line, a 132 immediately broken up by Izzy, who has and then Wintercat, who is doing this race with no traction control for the first time here tonight, Muzz. He's up in the P1 as it sits.
Yeah, because we've seen him over, at least from this time last season, we've seen him improve a lot, and it seems like he has the confidence, and he's but to try no TC in a track like this where it can punish you, that's bold stuff. But he looks like he's got the confidence for it, and he looks like he might be able to back it up with the lap time.
Yeah, this is really a tough track. I mean, you really could have not picked a. I mean, there's very few tracks that are probably tougher picks. As Meraki Dawn goes ahead and jumps up the order into P1. There's not really a lot of tracks that you could say are trickier to run without traction control, especially if it's one of your first races with traction control off. I mean, this track is, like you said, yeah, it's a tough one. One of the toughest, I would imagine. I'm trying to think of what other track would be even harder. I would say maybe, I don't know. I feel like Suzuka would not be that fun, especially if rain is involved. And if rain was involved, then Wintercat would be in a tough spot. But he is about a second and a half down from the time set by Meraki Dawn. But it is also worth noting that there is, like Muzz said earlier, pretty much people just spread across divisions here. So for the most part, it's gonna be pretty far spread out, but it should still be a fun night here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, because you have at least probably two people that are similar pace. So whether it's those two people that are similar pace fighting, or whether they this is one of their better tracks and they can fight with someone in a division up, or vice versa. It just Meraki Dawn, he has cleared Zombie's time. So, and I know there was a lot of talk when they saw that Meraki Dawn was joining that's going to be not very fun for them, because he is a very quick driver.
He's one of the drivers that absolutely dominated NA last season, and his championship run was pretty much almost borderline uncontested for a good part of the season. As Dito now jumps to the top of the timetables in his Ferrari, a time of a 1:28.1. If anybody's going to fight Meraki, it would be Dito. Another Div 1 driver here tonight, so he's going to go ahead and make the most of his speed and try to get some good strategies. Coming up this week, the Williams team principal taking a bit of a break, driving a Ferrari, potentially eyeing a future in red. All the speculation, I'm kidding, no. I haven't even heard anything about that. But silly season is actually upon us here. I think in 2 rounds time, I think we're going to have silly season week. So some of the teams may be switched up a bit. Although seeing Dito in any other team, but Williams is not super likely. All things considered, as now we're watching Shining Swarm making his way through the Singapore Sling at the moment. A very tricky series of corners. A lot of tough braking zones as well. And we have a Haas kind of stuck in a wall. And that is Izzy. Yeah, Izzy I think might have just went a bit too deep there. The Haas, I mean, it's easy to do for the Haas driver, for anybody really. And a bit too much over the curves. That's going to be an invalidated lap time. And now we're going to jump on board with Naya, who is recently promoted to Div 4. Had his first Div 4 race yesterday. Or sorry, not yesterday, earlier this week with the 100% race in Australia. And what a way to kick off your debut in a division. Just going straight into a 100% race. That's got to be tough.
Yeah, I think from memory, he finished quite high up the order, and he might have even gotten on the podium if I can remember correctly. Which it's definitely quite hard to get on the podium in your first race, especially if it's 100% race, because I know that a lot of people struggle to stick it out to the end because it's just so long, and a lot of people actually forget about how long it is. But it's the length of a real F1 race, and considering that there's on average more chaos in a computer game than in real life, it's with the safety cars, it makes it go even longer. So it can be like sometimes 2, even closer to 3 hours of your day, and that's for a lot of people. That's hard to give up your whole day for that.
Yeah, I mean it is tough, especially if you don't like sitting down for long periods of time. Like if you have ADHD, I heard those 100% races are absolute nightmare fuel for them. Especially because, like you said, and looking at the Div 5 race in particular, I mean, we used 4 safety cars for that Div 5 race. And we actually did run out of safety cars. So if there would have been another major incident in that race, it would have been thrown to a VSC, which I feel like did happen, actually. I know we used 4 safety cars. I don't remember if we ever got that VSC, but we did end up using all of the safety car allotments. But yeah, I mean, these races, those 100% races, they take a while, man. That's why I refer to them as endurance rounds. Because, I mean, it is an endurance test. Twice as long as the regular race here at Rush. This race is even a bit shorter than that. But we don't have another 100% race for quite some time, as now we are back to business as usual here for Singapore. But Singapore is one of those tracks that it's kind of become a staple in Rush. It's usually a really good watch. I mean, especially compared to the real life F1, where it's kind of usually a bit of a procession half the time, as drivers just really try to find their spot on the streets. But the next time we have a 100% race, it is going to be at the end of March, when we go to the Hungaroring for 100%. So that should be a fun one. It's another tricky track, Hungary. Uh, Basically, it's known as the Monaco without the walls, and it's a track that I like. It falls into that category for me, for where it's a track I like, but it's a track I'm not really good at.
Yeah, it's obviously we have seen in the past in both real life and in league racing as well that at turn one with the big long straight down the start finish straight, it's a quite a good opportunity for an overtake, and realistically the only opportunity for an overtake on the track. And then it's just a whole lot of high speed corners the rest of the track, and with high speed corners, obviously if you get them wrong, they can send you off, and in some corners of the Hungaroring, they can send you off into a wall, which can end your race or end your quali or whatever it might be. But you need to make sure you get that right and get the setup right, because all those high speed corners, you need to make sure you're getting them right.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, you gotta really just be in the right place at the right time to try to get overtake done on that circuit. It's an interesting one. And also recently, for the 2025 iteration, did get a massive upgrade. It did, I believe, they redid all the facilities, and oh, what has happened here? Okay, that's a bit of an interesting one. A massive collision there that we missed. Moe Nabs hitting Dito, getting a 5-place grid drop for this one. Now, normally we would say this one would have to go to the stewards, but it's a reserve program race, so there's going to be really no penalties unless you... Well, even then, there's really no penalties, period. But I think the only way to get a penalty is if you did something generationally egregious. But it's a reserve program race. I don't think we'll see that, but so far, taking a look at our order, Dito on the top of the times with Meraki in P2, and Quicksilver rounding out the top 3. So it's shaping up to be an interesting reserve program race. The 2 drivers I'm actually really curious on seeing is Izzy and Priza. Priza is currently up in a P6 at the moment, so a very good start there for the driver of the Red Bull. We'll see if he can keep it up in the Grand Prix itself. That's about 4 minutes away.
Yeah, you've got Quicksilver Deck, who is he's a Div 4 driver, and he's got people like Zombie and Wintercat who are Div 2 drivers. So maybe this being one of Quicksilver Deck's top tracks, and Zombie actually just gets past him there with a 128.7, but it's looking like a strong track for Quicksilver, and maybe Winter starting to show that he is running no traction control, because he is not probably where he should be, and even SJ in P10, that's quite good for him. And then it's quite close actually from about P8, so where Winter is, even before that where Moe Nabs is, all the way down to where Dilby is in P18. You can see it's like no more than like 3/10 separating any of those drivers. Quite a big area where 1/10 might not even, where 1/10, sorry, will get you up like 2 spots on the grid, which can be very good.
Very good indeed. So you gotta be quick, especially in these reserve program races, because you do have all those mixed divisions that you really gotta contend with. So and a spin into the pit lane for Zombie. Just spins it around in the pit lane, up onto the track. Luckily he's in a decent corner to spin at, or a decent part of the track, because most times drivers are wide through that part anyway. But that could have been scary stuff there for the V-carb, that hot pink V-carb. Probably's got a little bit of extra brown in it, because that would give me a Code Brown moment, that is for certain. But it is rush hour as it sits right now, the final lap, or final minute and a half of quali. Drivers are going to get ready to fire it up and just go for the best possible qualifying time known to man. A lot of drivers on an outlap. A few drivers in the pits, they're not going to take any part, with Zombie and Com United. Actually both of the V-carbs aren't going to go out again. So now it is just down to everybody else who's going to give it a go. We're going to ride on board with Naya as Naya begins his lap. The driver was recently promoted to Div 4, getting ready for a second Div 4 race here tonight. As he makes his way through, fighting the wheel a little bit through that third corner, now making his way to the first DRS zone, and he's going to go ahead and light it up, turning on the ERS, and he's actually already burned most of his battery already. He's actually burned all of his battery. So I don't think that's going to be much of an improvement there for the Williams. We will see. But now we're going to jump on board. We haven't jumped on board with Papaya much so far, so we're going to jump on board with Kiwi. See if he's flying as much as his name might imply. Flying Kiwi now making his way through this track. He's got some cars up ahead, which will provide a little bit of dirty air, but also a good amount of a slipstream on some of these longer straights. But this tricky section here, over the bridge. And Marakadon sets a new personal best, and who is that was off? I think that actually, yeah, that was Sirotkin that went off there. So Sirotkin went deep, and now we're going to see who's going to go ahead and finish qualifying in what position. That's Flanky. We now is going to continue on. We'll check in with Dito. How is Dito doing? He is not quite improving. So jumping back on board now with Kiwi. Kiwi's got only 2 more corners left to go. They are fast and flowing. And Kiwi is going to jump up into P10. So that's a massive improvement there. What about Dito? Does he have any improvements in the tank? He is improving, but not by enough. We'll see if he can get it done here. Coming around the last corner. Going to send it to the line. And indeed by only 300ths of a second. Provisional pole there for Dito. Anyone else? It'll be difficult. Quicksilver, and he's coming into the pits. Well, no, he did improve, but he improved his time, not his position, and I think that is going to be our qualifying grid. Partially, I mean, I think Dito's got pole position here. We'll see how everybody else fares through. Coops is retired, so he's not going to set a time here. I think he might have binned it, actually. It looks like he did. Priza coming through and jumping up at a P4. That's a very good start for the newcomer.
Yeah. A lot of drivers improving their time, but not their position, like you said before. So looks like my prediction in terms of improving marginally would get you up 1 or 2 positions was wrong. But Dito coming out and delivering in the final lap and just barely beating that Meraki Don, who I think was the favourite going in. Obviously, Moe will start 5 places down. So we'll see if he can quickly make those positions back up at the start of the race.
That indeed, as we go through, as we kind of just scroll through our qualifying order here for the reserve program race tonight. It is a shorter one. It's going to be a one stop more than likely, unless some shenanigans ensue. It is 22 laps on the streets of Marina Bay, and we are going to get ready for lights out under the floodlights here in Singapore, as drivers are getting ready to give it a go here under the floodlights and see how they're going to do here in the reserve program. Some really good practice for the divisions to come. As for certain, racing will pick back up on Saturday with Div 1. It'll be myself and I believe SJ in the commentary booth for that one. We'll be kicking off Singapore week here at Rush. So 7:30 p.m. AEDT, 3:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S. It should be a fun one, Muzz.
Yeah, absolutely. With it being such a tough track, it'll be interesting to see if those drivers who are higher up in their championship can hold on to it, because this track will punish your mistakes.
Indeed, and we'll see who can survive the punishment the best. And it's lights out and away we go here in Singapore. Drivers ready, scrapping for position. Marakadon getting a very good launch to get ahead of Dito as it sits. Sarakin has been disconnected. And Zombie's lagging a bit, I think, and that's going to result in a bit of contact between himself and Prism. Prism's the one lagging. Yeah, I'm seeing that from all the way here. It's bit of connectivity shenanigans here on lap 1. That's never any fun. As now drivers continue to make their way through. No major drama as of yet. Did I say that as Izzy goes deep out of the DRS zone, and it is a VSC to start things off already, as I think a few positions up. I think it just got bottlenecks from Noah. And yeah, Noah's missing his entire front wing, so bit of chaos here to start off Singapore.
Yeah, I think that one was the old-fashioned commentator's curse, just as you said, that there wasn't anything happening. We saw Izzy go off, and that brought out the now full safety car. That is actually the full safety car is out, and a dream start from Meraki Don. He got pipped right at the end of qualifying, but got that spot back up going into turn 1. So that was well done from him.
Yeah, we know Marakadon is pretty lightning at the start, so we'll take a look at the tires everybody is on here at the moment, although some of it may change. A majority of the field, with the exception of Abhishek, on hard tires. So, interesting stuff here for the field. We do have Zombie actually make his way into the pits. And Naya gets a penalty, 10 seconds for a severe collision with Noah. So, a lot of drama just starting us off here tonight in Singapore. Luckily, it is the reserve program race, so you can, I don't want to say you can get away with things, but another 10 seconds? Or is that just the same notification, guys? There was, yeah, no, that's another penalty for a severe collision. Didn't even touch him there again. Weird stuff happening here.
Yeah, clearly, maybe a bit of anger between those two, a bit of uh, unsportsmanlike conduct, to say the least, or maybe it was a game glitch, whatever it might be. But no way to tell as of right now. But definitely not what he was looking for. But it does give, uh, obviously, all the drivers a chance to pit, because it'll be interesting to see what kind of tyre wear it is around here, because we might see drivers try a little bit of a, oh my god.
Yeah, I think that it might be intentional at this point. Yeah, that's another penalty there. No, I mean actually I'm not too sure at this point, but I think and this oh yeah, he's trying to end his race. So that was a straight line into the wall. Retired on track. That might extend the safety car a little bit longer as that car is I mean it's parked in a pretty safe location, but yeah, I mean it was just not his night. He was not having it. Got hit with two penalties. One of them very well could have been a glitched out penalty because he was in the pits when that second penalty came through for a severe collision. So I don't really think that was the case, but I mean, we have seen stranger things here at Rush. So maybe, but I think that second one was kind of a glitch penalty and he just decided to call it here. On lap 3, we have lost one driver so far. We are down to 19 cars here on the grid for tonight's reserve program event. And we'll just kind of have to see how the other 20 laps go on this one. Should be entertaining once we get back going. I think now that we got everybody pretty much bunched back up, we should be back going around probably lap 4, maybe 5 at the latest, but I think we should be back here soon.
Yeah, it will probably get extended. Not as much as it probably would in real life. We see SJ up in P6 now. So he maybe, I can't remember where he got those positions from, but it must have been in the pit stop phase, jumping some people in the pits. But he is up, I think that's 4 positions from the start. Yeah, 4 positions from the start, and same with Moe behind. So he is enjoying this one. And also Abhishek and Sirotkin up 6 spots as well.
Yeah, some drivers really making moves here as Priza actually has dropped it. He's down a few positions, but there's a lot of pit stop shenanigans that were ensuing, but we shall see how the rest of this one goes. Marakidon is going to lead us to the line, trying to generate some heat into those medium tires, and he is going to go ahead and lead us back to green. Safety car coming into the pits, and they go when he goes, so he's waiting to the last moment. You got Dito up in his gearbox, and oh, I think you might have caught Dito napping there a bit. Very good launch there from Marakidon. And he's going to go ahead and go for it here. He leads the field back to green. We are back racing here in Singapore. Marakidon now continuing to hold the lead here as it sits right now. Keeping Dito at arm's distance. Trying to prevent him from being close enough to really try to shake for a move here in the opening restart lap. As Dilby has retired from the track as well. And that's another on-track retirement there. So during a normal Grand Prix, I know that would definitely be kind of a no-no unless he actually just straight crashed, which I don't think that was the case because that would have been a full safety car.
That was he made a business decision. He thought his connection was too poor, so he decided to retire himself from the session, which is a good decision to make. If he's got bad connection, he doesn't want to ruin anyone else's race. But obviously not ideal for him.
Yeah, that is true. That is very unfortunate. I mean, you kind of hate to see it, but I understand completely. Because, I mean, especially, that's honestly one of your biggest obstacles. While we don't feel the G-force here in sim racing, you do feel the connectivity. And if someone else's connectivity is being a menace, then it can really it can mess your race up quite handily. And we've seen a few connectivity-based accidents over the seasons that have actually ended races for some people through no fault of their own, really. And Shiny has also called it out. So 3 drivers out, and maybe another one potentially. We see Frieza in the pits.
I'm pretty sure that was a crash between Frieza and Shining Swarm. I saw it on my screen.
Oh, here's an interesting
happened
problem.
Here?
Yeah, Frieza is stuck by the Ferrari. The Ferrari's just parked it in the pits. And now the Red Bull is going to go, oh no. I have never seen that before. That is... I'm sure Frieza's got to be punching the air at this point. Just getting stuck by a Ferrari that was not moving. Oh, man. I know he is not happy at the moment. Not happy at all there. I mean, I know I'd be pretty upset. I can't speak for you, Muzz, but I would probably be yelling on the top of my lungs at the screen if that happened to me.
Yeah, I would absolutely be doing the same, because he was about 6 seconds behind the back of the pack when he went into the pits, and now he has lost 50 seconds from that. Obviously, a huge chunk of that is the pit stop itself, but at least like 20 seconds coming just from being stuck behind a driver that is no longer in the race. So not the best from Red Bull.
Yeah, that is, and actually, Frieza's not even in the session, so I guess he's not as mad, but I mean, yeah, having your car blocked in the pit lane by somebody who retired is not exactly ideal. I can imagine it's pretty similar feeling to just getting stuck on highway traffic at like rush hour, just kind of stuck there. Like, why is it called rush hour if nobody's moving? It's kind of, it really just feels like getting stuck in traffic. So not fun there. And if this was during the only shining, and I mean that, I did not mean that as a pun, but the only shining bit of knowledge about that incident is that it's a reserve program race. So no points are really on the line, no championships at stake. But still, you want to do the best, and these guys are trying to get like a championship out of us. Dito's now chasing down Marakidon, trying to close in the gap, trying to do what he can to get a move done here on Marakidon. Marakidon is a tough driver to beat. He is consistently quick, the reigning NA champion, and he's just going to continue on doing what he does best, trying to make things difficult for anybody to pass. Yellow flag and safety car number 2 of the night. What has happened here? I think Noah might have some knowledge on that. Winter got spun around, so that no traction control might have actually resulted in no front wing there for the Aston Martin. And sure enough, no TC, no front wing there for Winter. And he's going to pretty much come right to the back of the pack here. But hey, this does give Frieza a chance to close back in and rejoin the group after his generationally long pit stop that he had. So the safety car is always a double-edged sword. It's really good for some people and absolutely atrocious for others.
Yeah, and I think the people that it's bad for is the people who went onto the hard tyres. Because depending on what tyre selection they choose, they might not have another set of hard tyres to go onto, so they're going to have to stick this one out or try and take mediums further than ideal. But the medium runners can go into hards probably till the end, and that will spice it up in the midfield, but that will give a big opportunity for Dido and Marakidon to continue their battle all the way until the end.
And Priest's picked a good time to join back here, Muzz, as he is now back into the session. Marakidon does his pit stop, and he will jump back into the lead of this one. I mean, the best time to really make a pit stop is during a safety car, especially if you're one of the front runners. You can just make that pit stop and without really coming back into traffic, because everybody will still be behind you anyway because of the pits. So, I mean, you picked a really good time. I think just about everybody's going to make the pit stop here, aside from maybe Priza, but everybody else should be making that pit stop. Hard tires go on. Marakidon already weaving to try to generate some heat into those white wall tires, as we are on lap 8 out of 22 here tonight. Second safety car was caused by Wintercat this time around, I'm pretty sure, because he is trying no TC for the first time tonight, as we mentioned a few times on the broadcast. And I mean, a reserve program is also a good place to really kind of experiment with stuff like that before you jump into a race worth a bunch of points. Every team is trying to fight for the overalls. Every team is trying to fight for the constructors. Every driver is trying to fight for the drivers' championship in their respective divisions. So the reserve program gives you a bit of an avenue to really start messing around and finding out, employing the scientific method, if you will, of goof around and find out. And I mean, he goofed around and Wintercat found out.
Yeah, he's just trying to find the limit, and obviously to find the limit you have to go past the limit. It's just like with new tracks, you know, obviously you have to take a corner flat out to know if it's flat out. So he is experimenting. He probably won't be running no TC during the races that count, but like you said, a good opportunity to experiment and to try and improve. And that's why he is so far down, because he was trying to find the limit and spun and couldn't keep it out of the wall. So that's just the way it is.
Exactly that. So it'll be a bit of a tricky thing to kind of manage. And I mean, hey, at least you're doing some of the stuff now in this reserve program race versus a race where points are on the line. Good practice is why that's why a lot of full-time drivers across divisions do jump into these races, because it is good practice for when they have to do this race again in their division. It'll be slightly longer. I think it's about 30 something laps, I think, in about on the 50% runs usually. So you're not getting the full race experience, but you're getting pretty dang close to one, because it is typically a 50% race. You do 35 here, so about a 15% difference. And you do still get a good feel for the track. You get a good feel for racing on the track. And you get used to the Singapore layout, because this track is very, very narrow. It's more narrow than Australia that we were just at last week. And so it is a tough one. And we actually have quite a few tricky tracks coming up here. The next, I mean, we got Vegas, which is right after Singapore. That's a pretty wide track. Some pretty easy to get overtakes there, especially with that massive Vegas drag strip that's there. And then we go to China, Saudi, and Hungary, which are all very, very tricky and narrow circuits. So Marakidon is going to go in and lead the field of green. And Muzz, I'll let you take this one away.
All right. Yeah, Zombie is going to be wanting to try and get involved here. He kind of lost out, just couldn't manage to keep on to the back of them. But when is Meraki Don going to go? He looks like he's gone. And Dito is not looking like he's close. Might have caught up a little bit through the final corner, but Meraki Don will lead them away. There's a few battles for positions a bit further down, but they are all as they were, at least in the top 5. And Koopsie might have just been overtaken by Gangster. It's just a bit of a train. No one close enough to make a move, but they are all close enough that if someone makes a mistake, they will jump up a position. And this is that kind of annoying part of the race as a driver, where it's just, like they're so close, and it kind of annoys you that they're so close and you can't get past them. And see Winter getting past Preezer. Oh no, Preezer getting back past. Winter is around. So just as we hop on with him, that was the camera curse. He spun it and he is now in last place.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to him for trying to race a no TC, because I couldn't do it, honestly. I mean, especially on a controller, because getting the throttle right on a controller with no TC is a bit of a tricky one, at least for me. I think Merakidon races with no TC, and he is on controller, which is crazy. He's got a crazy pace on that controller. He's good on the sticks, as people in the fighting game community would say. But yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty solid run from him here tonight. Dino hasn't been a mile off. He's still been pretty much staying pretty close to the Mercedes, but Merakidon's definitely been in the driver's seat as we are continuing on with the first half of the race. The second half is about to kick off, as I think Merakidon went a bit wide there through the corners, allowing Dito to catch back up here a little bit. They've both already broken DRS range from Zombie in P3. So now they are just going to continue to start to run away with this one. And Zombie's kind of in a bit of no man's land here, because he's not close enough to be in the DRS range of Dito, but he's also too far away from Quicksilver to be in his DRS range. But the Governor might be trying a move here, and he does get a move done. Or no, not quite. He thought about it, but he's got the other Sauber right behind him to think about. He's got the DRS, he's got the speed, he's got the inside lane, and into the wall goes both of them. Quicksilver and the Governor. That was a bit of an optimistic move. Both of them with significant damage on the front wing. Oh, and Gangster just clobbers the wall. And it is starting to get a little spicy here in the midfield.
Yeah, I wasn't watching that battle. I was watching a battle between Koopsie and Gangster and Com United. Is at the back end of the points, and they were all within about half a second of each other. And here is Com United and Abhishek. They're fighting away, and Abhishek going wide into turn 1 and 2 there gives Com United a chance to get ahead. But yeah, Quicksilver and SJ, they got in each other's way, and that's that annoying little crash where the other driver is touching a wheel, so you can't turn, and it just sends them both off into the wall. Now they're both pitted, and it's just, yeah, like you said, it was just getting a little bit spicy. And there's a bit of a train from Daz down to Abhishek. Those two still fighting away through the bridge section. Abhishek gets the position, but there's going to be a DRS straight. Can Com United get past here?
We'll have to see him. He's on the less optimal tire as of right now. Abhishek on 4-lap old mediums versus the 4-lap old hards, but there will be a crossover point. There will be that cliff that it is commonly referred to as, where the medium tires really start to fall away and the hard tires really come into their own. as these guys are going to give it everything they got here to try to fight it out. Although it looks like Abhishek is able to start kind of running away with it with that quicker compound at the moment. Now he's going out to Coops. So it'll be a Haas versus Aston Martin battle here. Battle in the midfield. Gangster actually just up the road is going to be under pressure from Daz. Daz currently in P6, looking at P5. And old Dito's gotten pretty close now to the back of Marakidon. These two are going to continue scrapping it out here as they continue to give it everything on the streets of Singapore. One of the top drivers in NA and the top drivers in OCE doing battle here. And it's something you love to see. Excellent battling from the both of them.
Absolutely.
Keeping it clean, keeping it nice and consistent. And here's the crazy thing, right? Usually when you have a lot of battling, you start to kind of lose a bit of time to the car behind. But these guys are battling and gaining time on Zombie a bit. So good work from the pair of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just going to be that question of when is Dito going to try and make a move, because he's going to have to at some point, because obviously car that finishes in front. So Dito's not going to win the race by staying behind, so he's going to have to make a move at some point. There's no tyre advantage for either of them. They both pitted under the safety car, so they're both on 6-lap-old hard tyres. And it's about half a second the gap between those two. Still the battle in the middle half of the back half of the top 10. And Coopsy, look, he got past Daz in the last lap and is looking to try and get a move on Gangster while he's still on the optimal tyre for right now. He has a little bit of a look to the inside. Gangster goes a bit wide. Abhishek's going to send up the inside of Daz. They're side by side. And Abhishek, is he going to get the move done? Oh, was contact there, and Daz almost spun. But managed to keep it going in a straight line. But he's got Com United on the back of him now through the technical section here into the bridge. Who is going to be leading down the straight?
That remains to be seen, as Com United now pretty much staring right at the back of that McLaren, trying to look for any possible gap, looking for any kind of sign of weakness here, that the McLaren might be a bit of on the struggle bus, but they're on the same compound of tires, so there's not going to be any tire advantage really at any point at this track. A bit of a lockup there from Abhishek just up the road, and now this does almost just about become a 3-horse race here for P7 at the moment, and these guys are going to continue on. Com United getting a good amount of DRS down the straight, really just trying to close in the gap to Daz here as we check back in up front. I think Dito was shaking for a move, but just a bit too much real estate in between, and now he's going to tuck back until the end of the Singapore sling. He'll watch Meraki's every move, trying to see if there's any slight crack in the foundation of Marakidon's lead, any sliver of a shot. He's going to have to try to take it here, because you're running out of laps. It's not 15 out of 22, so you got about 7 or 8 laps left to go, roughly. Probably about 7.5 at this point, as Daz gets 3-second time penalty for track limit violations. So that's another penalty in the books. There's a few parts on this track where it's kind of easy to get track limit pens. Not a lot. Not compared to like Australia or the Red Bull Ring in particular. But yeah, there's still some pretty rough track limit spots here that you can get. Actually, this corner right here could get you some track limits if you're not careful. If you take too much of the sim racing line where you go way off into the runoff, then you could get hit with a bit of a pen. Zombie gonna make his way through as well. Still in that no man's land that we talked about earlier. Too far ahead of Moe, but too far behind Dito. As Priza now gets a 3-second time penalty for track limit, so we're starting to see those pens kind of rolling in here, as now Koopsy is gonna try to closing the gap to Gangster to try to get promoted into the top 5 here tonight. Priza's in the pits. Another pit stop for Priza, not exactly ideal, but it does tend to happen. The interesting one here is that the governor's on soft tires, and he made that change under the safety car, so I'm curious. He might be trying to see how many laps he can get out of those soft tires. Maybe that's going to be the case. Maybe that's going to help him in his race later on this week. Yeah, I'm not too sure why he would have went softs, but I mean, hasn't really failed him so far, but you still got about 6 laps to go, really. Probably maybe even a bit closer to 5 laps to go now at this stage on those tires. So, I mean, it's manageable, but still not entirely ideal, really.
Yeah, I think that he is just trying to try and get ahead on strategy for his Div 4 race later in the round. We've got Aston slowing down. Is that Winter again? Is it? I think it was. Yeah.
So yeah.
But I think he's just trying to see how far he can make softs last, because if it gets to a similar situation in the race where there's a safety car with a few laps left, he's going to want to know if he can run the soft tyres to the end, because if he can get that part right and others don't think of it, then he can obviously get ahead, because soft tyres are the fastest tyres. So just a bit of testing probably for him. Oh, that was, I think I was lagging there, but on my screen, Dito almost ran into the wall.
Yeah, I didn't quite see that one. I did see that Governor almost got passed up by Quicksilver there in the back, as our 2 front runners continue to scrap it out here for position. As Quicksilver deck go wheel to wheel out with SJ. They're gonna go side by side, going a little bit deep into the first corner after that DRS zone, into about turn 5, and it is getting very, very spicy here. We have leveled up from Habanero to Carolina Reaper in terms of the spice level here in this midfield. As Quicksilver is now just going to try to make anything happen here. Dads gets one on Calm United, and he's going to get promoted up into P8. Going to look for P7, but P7's a bit up the road now, as we are on lap 18 out of 22 here. So we are in the closing stages of the race here. It is about 5 laps to go on the night. It's been a fun one here tonight, and the action continues on. Dito now trying to close in the gap to Miraculon, trying to look for any semblance of a gap to really go for here, as Dito is trying, but the Governor gets a 3-second time penalty, so all that battling he was doing is not going to really amount to too much. He does get a pen, although Flying Kiwi Bind also has a pen, so I think his position is going to be safe, but he won't be able to get past Quicksilver at any point in this one, as Sorokin makes a move, or is trying to defend from a move from Noah, as the 2 Mercedes-powered cars are scrapping it out here. One's on 10-lap-old hards, the other's on 10-lap-old mediums, and the hard tires are better at that stage, as I have lost my COCOM temporarily.
Yeah, that's just typical.
Alright, well, I'll try to invite you back real quick.
Alright.
There we go, invite has been sent. Quick and easy. I love it when EA actually decides to cooperate with us. And now Dito's going to really try to close it in. He's got to try to make this move sooner rather than later, because if he stays tucked in too long by Miraculon, then it might just be too little too late if he continues on at this pace. But you don't really need to do anything super crazy. It is a reserve program race, but I mean, at the end of the day, even though no points on the line, these are racing drivers we're talking about. Of course they're gonna push, like the championship's on the line.
But yeah, they absolutely are. And Dito is running out of laps, so he's going to have to maybe get a bit creative with an overtake on Meraki Don, because Meraki Don has seemed to be flawless, and maybe Dito even being flawless as well. So Dito is going to have to start really putting some pressure on, or maybe get a bit creative. Not many laps left for him.
Yeah, there's really not. I mean, and a big snap there from Dito. Very, very big snap. Caught that one. And now it is time for 3 laps to go here in the Singapore Grand Prix in the reserve program. And right now it is, our top 3 is Meraki, Dito, and Zombie. Currently our top 3 at the moment. We do have some battles in a few places on the field, but for the most part it is pretty well spread out. Koopsie trying to chase down Gangster, who in turn is trying to chase down Moe for that P4 position. Zombie's still kind of in probably a bit of a boring race for him, because he's really had nobody to fight almost the entire race. He's been fast enough where he really got no competition behind, but the competition ahead of him is already miles ahead. So not exactly the worst place to be, really, especially if you're in a podium position. But, yeah, a bit of a tough one. You also get a little bit of freedom. If you make a mistake, get a penalty, you still got another 7 seconds on the car behind. As now, Noah is going to try to close in the gap to Sorokin to try to grab that last spot in the top 10. It is going to be a pure fight between these guys. Speaking of fighting, Marakidon is still well ahead of Dito. He is going to hold on here, and I'll let you take the penultimate lap here, Muzz. Over to you.
All right. Yeah, so we saw that snap for Dito. It cost him about 0.3 of a second. He's no longer within about half a second like he was for quite a few laps, just inside 0.7 of a second. So if he wants to try and make a move in these final 2 laps, he is going to have to close up quite significantly. They've got similar amounts of battery. So where can Dito find the time against Marakidon, who has seemed pretty flawless? He's going to have to gain quite significantly to be able to be close enough to make a move, or try and hope for a mistake from Marakidon, as a few drivers starting to close up. Apriza has gone onto wet tyres, so clearly given up, which isn't great to see. But like I was saying, we've got quite a few battles going on. Winter sent up the inside of Izzy, overcooks it a little bit. Izzy gets back through, and I think Winter might still have a chance to get Izzy in these final 2 laps for him. But the top 2, Dito has closed up a touch, but he's going to have 1 lap to go. So run us through this last lap.
Alright, so it's going to be the final lap here of the Singapore Grand Prix in the reserve program here tonight. Dito is good. It's really make or break now for the Ferrari, as Dito is going to go ahead and do what he can to try to maybe grab a win here at the last moment. He got pole position, but got jumped at the start, and wiggle into the wall. And Dito's chances are fading away, slipping away, like that gap is slipping out. And that's it for him, really. Marakidon, unless Marakidon makes a similar mistake, he had a bit of a wiggle there coming through, but I think for the most part Marakidon should have this one wrapped up here. We'll see how the American driver does. He's got only a little bit more to go, about another half a lap going through the Singapore sling for the final time, as Dito is trying to rectify that mistake from earlier, but just those 2 big snaps really kind of threw it out, as Abhishek is fighting now with Daz here on the final lap. That battle is getting pretty spicy as these guys continue to roar through Singapore. And now it's one last DRS zone, but Dito doesn't have DRS, so this one is basically signed, sealed, and delivered. As Marakidan has done exactly what he needed in this race here tonight. He's pretty much led every lap from the get-go. And he's going to make it through the final few quarters now. And Marakidan wins the Singapore Reserve Grand Prix. P1 for him, Dito P2. And then a further 10 seconds back, Zombie is going to round out the podium here tonight. What a race from these three. Zombie is going to go ahead and finish up. Oh, a bit of a last-minute dash here between Moe and Gangsta. Trying to fight it out for our position, and Moe's going to win this one out. Gangsta will have penalties. He's got to serve anyway, so he'll drop to Koopsie. And reserve program done and dusted for the night.
Yeah, it was quite interesting with those top two, how they were able to stay so incredibly close throughout the whole race, and then just those two mistakes that really screwed up Dito. And without those two, I think that he would have had a good chance to make an overtake on that straight where he did hit the wall on the exit. But just incredible consistency from those two. And then at the final hurdle, Meraki Don wins out.
Yeah, so Marakidan is your victor here tonight in the Mercedes, as the governor gets another 3-second time penalty. So he's gonna get one on the Kiwi because Kiwi had more penalties, but he got to 11 laps on those soft tires, which is a pretty good feat here, especially on a controller where the tire wear is absolutely abysmal on soft tires. Marakidan is your race winner here tonight. We're going to run through the celebrations and then run through our superlatives and then our results. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up and look towards the main races starting up on Saturday. So Marakidan victorious here in Singapore. And that champagne is going to go ahead and spray. And they're going to celebrate the win here after a quick night, but also a very intense night. Very intense battle between the top two for quite some time. Taking a look at the superlatives now. Marakidan, race winner. Fastest lap goes to Marakidan as well. Sorokin, driver of the day. Koopsie had the most overtakes, and Moe was the cleanest driver of the day. So we're going to run through our finishing order here. It is going to be Marakidan, Dito, Zombie, Moe, Koopsie, Gangster, Abhishek, Daz, Calm United, Sorokin, Noah, Quicksilver, the Governor, Flying Kiwi, Izzy, Wintercat, Priza, and then our final three retirees being Shining Swarm, Dilby, and Naya to wrap things up here tonight. So we're going to go ahead and just jump straight over to our outro. No interviews tonight, for it is the reserve program. So Muzz, any final thoughts before we send this one off?
Yeah, I just want to say that it's interesting to see, and some drivers using that as a practice session, some using it for a bit of fun, some using it to prove themselves. But whatever it might be that they were doing, it was good to see that there was some good racing up and down the field and a bit of chaos, which is always interesting. But on to the main races.
On to the main races indeed. So we're going to go ahead and send this one off. Tune in Saturday, 7:30 p.m. AEDT for round 4 Div 1. And it is going to be, actually, correction, round 5 Div 1. And it is going to be absolutely pure cinema, especially if weather gets involved. But that's going to go ahead and end things for us here tonight. A massive thank you to Sim Racing Center, SimLab, Pagny Advanced Simulation, and AI369. And a thank you to all you guys who tuned in tonight. And see us again tomorrow. On behalf of Muzz, my name is Ben Patrick Coleman, a.k.a. Ruckus, and we have been your hosts and commentators for tonight's reserve program action. And we'll see you guys in Singapore for round 5 of season 10. Have a good night.